All right, this is kind of a boring black and white picture, so we won't spend too much time on it, but your book does try to orient you to where photosynthesis is happening, and this will be good, and it'll come in handy in general when we talk about plants a little bit later on too. But so if you take a leaf and you were to cut it in half, so like looking at a flat leaf, like a leaf from the side, and then cutting it down the middle, and then looking at it from this direction, like at that cross section, that's what you have here. And so don't worry too much about all these parts, but they're on here and you'll probably become familiar with them. Some that are, I would say, the more important parts to kind of have an awareness of would be the cuticle. That's this very thin, waxy coating on top of the epidermis that runs this whole length. And so you can imagine plants, they need water in order to go through the process of photosynthesis. So they're going to do everything in their power to keep water. And depending on the climate that a leaf is in and the amount of water that's typically available to it, this cuticle will change in thickness. Then you have the epidermis, which is just a simple layer of cells. And then you have this mesophyll, and meso means middle. So this is the middle layer of cells. And over here you'll see I actually divided it up further, which your book doesn't do. But there's actually the palisade and the spongy mesophyll. And they play different roles based on how their cells are shaped and how they're spaced out. So this palisade mesophyll is very squished together, and the cells tend to be more column-like. And so you can imagine if you have light coming into the top of this leaf, you're going to want to have some chloroplasts. We know those are the organelles that are responsible for photosynthesis. You're going to want to have some chloroplasts there ready to catch that light. So that's why these cells are so tightly packed along the top of the leaf, and they have so many chloroplasts in them for that purpose of collecting light. And then the spongy mesophyll down here still has chloroplasts because it will still get some sunlight. But you'll notice that these cells are not packed as tightly together, and this has a lot to do with what's happening right here. Right here you have a stoma. If you had more than one, you would have the plural, or stomata. And these are just openings in the leaf. And these two smaller cells on either side of the stoma are called guard cells. And these guard cells can either become turgid or they can become flaccid. And so remember, those terms go back to tonicity. So we're coming for full circle here. But so these cells, if they are flaccid, meaning they don't have as much water in them as they could, then the stoma is going to be open. If they become turgid, then the stoma will be closed. And so that has everything to do with gas exchange, allowing carbon dioxide into the leaf and oxygen out. And then the only other thing to maybe keep in mind is that leaves have veins in them, and these veins run throughout the plant, and they're going to carry sugar and water to the different cells in that plant to make sure that they're alive. So we need the leaves and the green parts of the plant to go through photosynthesis, but then we also need the veins because those veins are going to carry sugar and water not only to the leaves, but also to other parts of the plant that aren't going through photosynthesis, but still need to go through cellular respiration. And so then the last thing I wanted to do is zoom in real quickly here on your chloroplast. So within these individual cells, now you can look at the organelle that is responsible for photosynthesis, the chloroplast. And so again here you have lots of parts. There is an inner and an outer membrane to a chloroplast. We won't really talk a whole lot about it, but good to know that that's there. We will focus a lot on the thylakoids. These are those single chips that often are stacked together. So the thylakoid membrane is where photosynthesis, the light reactions, will be taking place. We talked already about the thylakoid space, or the lumen that's on the inside, the stroma on the outside, and then that these stacks of thylakoids are called grana. So that's a general overview of where this is taking place.